fact, there are still many there. There are many. I believe that those people, they said they are deep.
When you begin to hide yourself,
of the business I'm doing, how to keep business, like customer business, receipts.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking Migration on TV 360 Nigeria. I am Onyi Adekunle. Now, there's no doubt that art plays a very critical role in every society, one of which is to inform. It is against this backdrop that the United Nations International Organization for Migration, IOM, pioneered the Global Migration Film Festival in 2016. The objective of the GMFF is to use films as educational tools that influence perceptions of and attitudes towards migrants. The event features films and documentaries that capture the promises and challenges of migration. The 2018 edition of the event features over 40 films to be screened across 100 countries from November 28th to December 18th. This next report has the details of the screening held at the Goethe Institute, City of Lagos State.
Because our fingerprints, we have no future in Europe.
The Global Migration Film Festival showcases 2 films on the theme of migration to a diverse audience of migrant returnees, stakeholders, and the general public. The first is a short film titled Grammar. The plot is woven around the passing of a young boy who opted to travel to Europe by road at the expense of having an education in Nigeria. The second film, Bushfallers, follows the story of a Cameroonian who migrated to Germany in search of greener pastures. A member of the screening and a former migrant is however not thrilled with some aspects of the second movie.
From my experience since I came back to Nigeria and trying to sensitize people to talk to them about irregular migration, I discovered some of the horrible pictures is what actually scares them. Yes, when you show them the truth, they are scared to go there. Because there was one we did one time and we brought out a picture of people sinking in a boat and the woman was like, is this what happens to them? Hey. I was like, yes, this is what actually happens to them. So if you don't give them the truth, they won't believe you. When you keep giving them half of what happens, this is more like, to me, half of what actually happens. Because passing through the desert, passing through the Mediterranean Sea is horrible. It is horrible. And people need to see it. My advice is, while they are doing these videos, try and attach some of these real truths to it.
Despite the campaign against irregular migration, some members of the panel believe the Nigerian film industry still has a lot to accomplish in this regard. Nigerian movie producer Zulumoke Oyibo highlights what she feels is responsible.
There is definitely a lot that the film industry can do to show the world, especially what you just said, to show those pictures, to show those stories, to tell those stories as they are, for people to see and know that, doing this thing, it's not worth it. Visually, people are incited to make decisions. So through film, we can show people visual depictions of these things, and it would go a long way. It will be amplified. People would know that, there's no point going there, like you have just said. So it's, for producers now, how do you get us? Bottom line. The bottom line is funds. It is funds. To tell a story of this magnitude, you need to speak with the government. You will need to speak with security to work with you to shoot that scene. Funds. Nobody wants to do anything for free. So, there is a dearth of stories, and, I'm eager to tell them. I'm sure a lot of, filmmakers have so many stories, migration, whatever it is, that they want to tell, but just because of funds. That's really the bottom line.
Just like film, social media has been proven to be a powerful tool in influencing the narrative about irregular migration. Founder Angel for Life Foundation explains that migration agencies need to pay as much attention to social media in their campaigns.
The power of social media is just too powerful, let me say it that way. Because so many things have actually happened in that process. That time that, we kept creating more awareness, trying to let people know, stop making this journey, it's not safe and all of that. But one particular moment I can never forget was what social media also has done to reunite.
I remember one particular day I went to the airport as usual. I was even running late that day. I was feeling so bad. The plane had already landed. I was calling. They were like, the plane had landed. And I was like, let me even capture, even if it's the last people coming out from the plane. And I got there that day. I recorded it. And all of a sudden, a lady just sent me a message on Instagram. She was like, Nikki, that's my brother. That's my brother that just walked past you. We thought he was dead. And I was like, what? She was like, that's her brother. They've been looking for him for years. And she actually saw him walking beside me, in that video. So, in quotes, I wasn't too late. God made me get there on time to capture that brother for that sister because they thought he was dead.
An official of the International Organization for Migration is also part of the screening panel. Alex Cole sheds more light on the IAM's role in curbing irregular migration in Nigeria.
IOM, as I said, in partnership with the government of Nigeria, we've been implementing a lot of these awareness-raising interventions. Things such as sensitization in schools, targeting students. I think I mentioned earlier we've also initiated a radio program called Abroad Mata, which is a 13 episode drama radio series, which basically is using storytelling to create awareness on the risks. Things like mobile feeders, creating platforms for discussion using the community dialogue approach, basically allowing migrants, returnees, and their community members, creating a platform for them to discuss the most pressing migration issues that may be affecting their community.
Motivated by poverty, millions of Africans risk the loss of their personal liberty and death for the quest of a better life through irregular migration. Away from government policies, the movie industries in developing countries have a responsibility to sensitize citizens on the challenges and risks of migrating the irregular way. And that's the purpose of the Global Migration Film Festival. Annetta Felix, TV 360, Lagos.
Indeed, no positive contribution can be considered insignificant in the campaign against irregular migration. Well, let's go on a short break now. Afterwards, I'll be discussing more about the Global Migration Film Festival with the director of Grandma, one of the films screened in Lagos. Don't go away.
Corruption not in my country.
Madam, madam, welcome. Okay, madam, no worry. When you deliver the balance, we'll give you the goods.
No problem, no problem. All right, so now well done.
Thank you. Hey, Oga, I still say she don't bring money. Maybe we use this one for him now. She wants mahogany, not white wood. Oga, our work now to join wood together, deliver whatever to customer. Put the remaining profit for pocket.
Abba, this is corruption, not in my country. Corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
My guest today is joining me all the way from Italy. Alfie Nze is an actor, writer, and producer. His movie Grandma, produced as part of the Aware Migrants Project, is one of the selected films screened at the Global Migration Film Festival in Lagos, Nigeria. And I must also say here that getting through to Alfie has not been all that easy, but I must say right here that indeed all is well that ends well. Thank you so much for joining me on the program today.
Thank you very much, and I'm sorry for inconvenience.
All right, so we head straight to it. Let's talk about your short play, your short film, Grandma. I must say that the title, Grandma, hits very close to home. Is there any specific reason why you chose the title, Grandma?
Well, the title also, I chose the title because I wanted to tell the story of women, and especially from the point of view people we have more often around us growing up, our mothers, and very often to our grandmothers. So that is why I titled.
All right, and I should also ask you, this movie, why did you decide to do this? I understand that the production at the time when you came to Nigeria was about your first time after a long time in Nigeria. Please tell us about that particular production.
Well, this was the second film I'm shooting in Nigeria. I did in 2013, shooting Devil Comes to Coco, which is story about toxic waste dumping from Italy to Nigeria, the village of Coco in 1988. So it was a grand time of shooting in Nigeria, and particularly the difference is we shot everything in Nigeria, while with Devil Comes to Coco and some part in Nigeria and the theater part here in Milan. So Grandma gave me an opportunity to be able to appreciate the acting environment in Nigeria. One thing that actually did not surprise me, but for which I was amazed, the fact that, as you can see when you see the movie, that there is music in it. So when I was the casting, when I was selecting the cast, I didn't give anybody anything else to rehearse with from the music, and I was amazed to find out that the actresses that came to the audition sang very well. And when I asked them, they were singers or anything, and everybody was, most of them were like, no, I sang in church or something. I found no matter what the people, what they hear, would, and everything, an environment with the actors and actresses that are really, really well prepared for the job. Depending on what the production is about, the director wants to direct them, and they do everything. But I'm impressed with what I'm doing. So I was in Lagos 1 month preparing a section. Then my co-director came over, my Italian friend and co-director. Then he came over, and we shot for the whole thing. But it took 1 month of time to prepare the whole thing with the Nigerian executive producer, Destakuna, with whom I worked with 2013.
So are the stories portrayed in this play, in this film, I should say, are they in any way related to your own personal experience?
No, personal experience, no. No, because I began traveling in the 90s when one could easily go to the embassies and they give you visa and you travel in the world, Then as the Nigerian economy started getting bad, countries stopped giving us visa, and that's exactly what's happening. This ban on giving people visa because of bad economy, because of the Naira is no longer as it used to be in the 80s and the 90s. This is what stopped them from giving us visa, among other things. And, we also know that the whole thing about migration, it's exactly where you come from, the strength of your economy. If your economy is good, nobody's afraid you're going to become a nuisance. You're going to come to their country and maybe become a nuisance in their social security system. So they know that you have something at home, and you're going to come there and maybe stay 1 or 2 months, bring your own money, spend it there, and go back, And as can be seen in the film, at the end of it, I dedicated it to my cousin brother, whom we have no news of for over 20 years, Of course, we are hoping that he's still alive. But, when you don't hear from anybody over 20 years, you start having some doubts, So I dedicated the film to him. But, living in Italy here so you're able to also, I'm a Nigerian, I live here, and I also mix with Nigerians, so I know what is going on. And so this gives you some deeper insight into what is happening. And with that, you can do a creative work.
All right. You will agree with me that the Mediterranean Sea is a notorious passage for irregular migrants trying to reach European shores. And one of the specific issues raised during the screening in Lagos was the fact that visuals from places like on the Mediterranean Sea, where migrants were seen falling off boats and dying in the process, were significantly absent in the portrayal, that's in the film. Would there be any reason why you chose to be restrictive in the message that you passed across in the movie?
Well, this film, Grandma is not a documentary, it's totally fiction. But what is also important, this question, I was asked this question 3 weeks ago in Verona. Why doesn't Grandma show, or why did I choose not to show anything of what is happening in the desert before the Mediterranean? And the answer is, you know you are aware, you know the play Waiting for Godot, you know, in Beckett's Waiting in Waiting for Godot, Beckett's man who is supposed to arrive, whom the actors wait for, whom the characters there are waiting for, Godot is coming. And you discover that while the actors while the people are speaking of something, expecting it to happen, actually it's already happening. There is an evoked absence in Grandma, and that evoked absence, which is death, is what moves the thing. The boy that died in trying to cross the Mediterranean. So while we speak of that, while it moves the whole scene, just like Godot, we don't even need to see that anymore because it's already with us. While the actors in the theater space are waiting for Godot, showing us very different aspects in life. Actually, Godot is there. Godot has already arrived, you know, without Godot himself showing up, because actually in the end, Godot never shows up. So in the end, we don't see death in Grandma, also because the whole thing is motivated by that death. So it's already there. I don't need to stress it by showing you photograms of the Mediterranean, because we have consequences of what that death has caused, and that is what moves the whole narration.
You know, I'm particularly delighted to be having this interview with you because you are in Italy, and that's where a good deal of these irregular migrants want to reach. Is it true what they say about football clubs, modeling deals? Are these stories true? You are in the best place to tell us what the situation is, at least over there.
You see, when I was, by the way, I was in Lagos this September. Lights Camera Africa Film Festival. I was there with Grandma, and I was also asked this question, and I referred to ask me this question interview that I gave in December of 2016 on, I think, on The Guardian. There are about 4 newspapers. What happened is that in 2016, I was in Nigeria for over 1 month. First of all, I was there for the Lagos Photo Festival where I presented a performance, and then I started working. Over 1 month that I was in Nigeria, there was not one single news footnote that spoke of what was happening in the Mediterranean, not to talk of what is here in Italy. So this thing surprised me, and since Tony Kuya was one of the actors, he wanted to interview me over this. So we had this interview, in which why is it that this is not shared? Why is it that I see with stickers, if you want to walk in Canada, call this number, you know? These narrations are false. Why are there no Nigerians that live in Europe, that live particularly in Italy, this that people dream of today? Why is it Nigerians that live here, that do different works, they're not coming to Nigeria to speak up on what is on the ground? What is this, as Italians call it, this culpable silence that Nigeria continue to maintain over what is happening here? You know, And after that interview, I've had many other contacts from even the AFP called me earlier this year over that interview. Why is it Nigerians are not speaking out? On the four corners of the street where I live, there are Nigerians, young boys of not more than 25 years old, with caps in their hands begging for money. How come nobody speaks about football club? Which modeling what? That is total garbage. Of course, if you stay here long, well, if you're a footballer, there are through which footballers can come here. You don't have through the desert and the Mediterranean to be able to come here. You know, if you're a footballer, there are agents that deal with footballers and who can, everything. Or if you're a model, you don't have to. There is no way you have to go through the desert and the Mediterranean to be able to come here. Even
Indeed.
After being you live as a slave, kidnapped, and having your people call your family to send money to release you in Libya. After that horrendous experience, even if you were good looking in the beginning, you will come here totally distraught. So there is no such thing. Okay, gracias. There is no such thing as coming here and becoming a footballer model. How many of them have we seen anywhere? Where are the success stories? Boys that crossed the desert and the Mediterranean Sea to come here to become footballers. How many have we seen? What is the percentage? So these are narratives that these human traffickers give to families and give to these boys and girls to be able to sell their own story. So to make them... last year in Rome, on the 4th of July in Rome, presentation of a grandma, told them, the representative from the Italian government and everything, I told them, I said, these boys and girls that we see in this illegal migration, these boys and girls that we see in those boats, these are first-class travelers that have been denied first-class traveling. Because you spent on that journey, you can do business class anywhere to any part of the world. It's because you guys have refused to give people visa, and that is why people are dying in the Mediterranean. No, the answer to your question is no. I have never seen it, and I've been living here long enough. I've never seen anyone cross the Mediterranean or cross the desert in the Mediterranean and become a footballer or what do you call it?
Now, you talk about speaking up, and you've also expressed your displeasure with the fact that not so many channels are used to push out message about irregular migration, about campaigns to prevent people. Now, let's talk about screening of the short films, which I must also commend. It's a good move in the right direction. But taking these films to rural communities, you'll agree with me that most of the films were screened in urban areas. Nothing much was talked about or was said about taking the films to rural areas so that market women, those illiterates or old women whose children just come and tell them stories, or bloggers come to lure and tell them, let's take your children abroad. Many of them still do not have access to this message that we're talking about. So what do you have to say about that?
You are 100%. I'm speaking to IOM on a campaign roadshow, but the intention of the roadshow is to tell exactly to villages, not only in the Edo area. So Imo State is the third after Edo State. Imo State is the third largest state in Nigeria that furnishes undocumented migration. So I have this project. It's called For Life that I'm discussing with IOM and maybe other organizations through this project of of taking grandma to the rural areas. You are 100% right. I always saw the flaw, actually, because the film was screened since it debuted in Locarno Film Festival in Switzerland. I've been taken it to many European cities. It's been screened in many places. I've been to many places speaking about migration, undocumented migration, but often it's like preaching to the converted already. We are taking the message to people who already know the message. So it is not wrong, of course, to them often and more and more and more. But when you preach the converted already, it's almost like pouring water into the ocean. So what we've done actually is what we're also doing in Nigeria, but we all need to step up more effort. So I am talking to IOM to see if they can sponsor this. Actually, the film belongs to them too. If they can partner with me and Seek Choices Production in Nigeria.
All right. So lastly, let me ask you, we're pressed for time here. What more should we be expecting from you? Is it just going to be regular migration, themes about irregular migration for you as a movie producer and also a director going forward from now?
Well, what I'm working on now is actually the feature length of Grandma, but what I'm working on is feature film, the long film that morally, when the boy gets here, when he is there, and I'm going to bring that actor that plays Jonathan, I'm going to bring him legally to Italy to continue to play. When he gets to Italy, what he exactly that of Italy that that news media don't show because they don't have access to them. This is what I'm now on the feature film that follows the grand.
All right, so I say good luck, and I hope that you keep us abreast of your projects as time goes on. Many thanks for joining me on the program, Alfie Nse, film director, producer, and actor. We'll go on a short break now, and we'll be back with the rest of the program. Please stay tuned.
Corruption not in my country. What's your name?
Onosude Omorife. May you check your own list, cause the list where they outside. Onosude Daniel name never do.
Your name is Onoriode. You even went as a fashion designer.
As you don't come back, so now I won't go as Akpobori Ovi, and Ovi won't go as pilots.
That is impersonation.
My own share for the national cake be that.
Mr. Onosode.
Akpobori.
The Amnesty Program is an intervention project for sustainable economic development of the Niger Delta, which you are a beneficiary of, lying under pretext for your selfish gain and advantage is robbing others of the same opportunity. And that is an act of corruption, not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
You're welcome back. Now that's the much we can take on the program today. Remember to visit the migration resource centers that have just been created by the federal government and IOM if you wish to travel out of the country. At the centers, you'll be provided with information about your country of destination. Remember to be your brother and sister's keeper, like we always say on the program, and make sure that you report suspicious activities in your environment to NAPTIP, IOM, and other security operatives around you. Many thanks for watching. I am Oyi Adekunle. See you next time.